the heck, Shrinkflation? What the heck, Island Farms?
I'm not buying these again. Are you kidding me?
Jackets that were once 100% wool are now 70% wool.
Today, we're going to be looking at some TikToks that highlight some blatant and outrageous examples of shrinkflation and how these corporations are making us pay more for less.
These are some of the craziest examples of shrinkflation. Ice cream bars not filling up the ice cream all the way. Midnight's putting way more space in between their chocolates.
That first example is crazy. They're using the chocolate coating of the ice cream bar to hide the fact that there's not actually as much ice cream in it. There may be an argument to be made that that exact case was just a manufacturing error, because I find it really odd that they would intentionally do that, just blatantly showing you that you're getting less. I mean, it's different when they like try to hide it, and if the whole ice cream bar with the coating and everything was smaller, it would be harder to tell. If there's some shrinkflation going on, you'd have to go off weight, or you'd have to be able to put it next to one that existed before it got shrunk.
Girl Scout cookies gradually getting smaller over the years. Cadbury chocolate putting now bigger on their packaging, but it's actually the same exact size.
That is just messed up. I can't even defend that one. I don't even know how they can even get away with that. From an advertising standpoint, how could you market something that's the exact same and claim that it's bigger?
Pringles chips are now getting smaller. The packaging makes it look like it's one big loaf, but it's actually two smaller pieces.
In my opinion, that is just deception. Just blatant deception. There is no shame on that one. That is insane. Yeah, it doesn't even say like 2-pack on it or something like that. It really is hiding the fact that it is 2 pieces. If it said in big red letters or something, 2-pack on it, yeah, I'd let this one slide. But it's clear that they're trying to hide the fact that it's a 2-pack and make it look as if it's just one long piece.
Oreo reducing the amount of cream they put in their cookies. Nerf darts having a lot of extra space in their packaging that's just empty.
This Nerf example is a common trend in shrinkflation. Packaging with extra space that's just filled by air. It's made to make it look bigger, but really there's just not as much inside of it. You see this in like chip bags all the time. Chip bags don't get smaller, the contents inside them do. So you don't notice shrinkflation on a bag of chips because the only thing that changes is the net weight, a small little number at the bottom of the bag.
Trader Joe's stopped filling up their sandwich cookies all the way.
There you go. This Trader Joe's example is exactly what I just talked about. Not filling up the packaging all the way. And these companies won't make a smaller package because you'll be able to tell right away that it's just not the same size as what you bought last time or what you're used to buying. And so it's easy to tell right away that you're not getting what you're paying for. But with these air in the bag ad tactics, it's just so hard to notice this kind of stuff all the time on every product because it's happening all over the place.
This unopened cheese stick looks like it was cut in half.
Man, what did they do to my boy?
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
They're doing my boy dirty right now. The cheese stick is a childhood classic. That is not a stick. Ain't no cheese stick around here. I'm looking at this cheese stick and I'm realizing something else. The packaging is just wasteful. Like there's extra plastic that doesn't need to be there.
Packages of gum have started adding a thumb grip in order to not give you an extra piece. Here's another example.
Yeah, this gum one is just so stupid to me. And it's funny too, because I heard about it online and I was like, I haven't seen it yet. It's not real. This is probably just fake. And then I went to the store, bought gum one day, and it had the thumb tab. As soon as I finally got a pack with the thumb tab, I showed everybody I knew. They were all blown away by it. Why just one piece of gum? Because like we're used to seeing a full pack of gum. And the fact that there's now just one missing piece in each pack just looks so weird. The problem with this one is they're not hiding it, because it's so easy to tell right away that that is blatant shrinkflation right in front of your eyes.
Toblerone began adding extra space in between their chocolate mountains. Someone opened up their Lunchables and this was how much cheese was in there.
Okay, this Lunchables one might be going too far. Sure, like with the Toblerone one, you're getting less chocolate, there's less triangles, there's more space between them, you're paying the same amount of money for less chocolate. But this Lunchables one, like the product quality is literally suffering as a result. Like what do you have, enough cheese there for like one of those like tortilla sandwich things? Just one? I feel like the lack of cheese in there has got to hurt the brand perception of Lunchables more than if they were just to raise the damn price.
Ramen noodles slightly decreasing the size of their flavor packets. Super glue bottles have an empty shell that takes up nearly half of the amount.
Why do you need that like fake plastic shell. This glue one is messed up. In my opinion, this is as close as you can get to a legal scam as possible.
Crayola has begun selling half-size color pencils instead of the full one. The packaging on the Colgate toothpaste is extremely misleading.
They can't decrease the size of the package because if they do, you'll be able to tell right away that you're not getting what you bought last time. Think about the consumer though. Like, you buy something that you buy on a regular basis. You expect the same thing and you get home, open that package and it's smaller. In marketing, you want to delight your customers. If you're going to surprise them, you want to delight them. Surprise and delight is a very powerful marketing strategy. This is surprise and disappoint.
Klondike bars have literally no chocolate on the outer shell.
What's going on with the Klondike bars is actually the price of cocoa, the main ingredient that goes into creating chocolate, is extremely expensive right now. Yeah, like take a look at this graph of cocoa futures. You can see that in early 2024, the price just exploded. And of course, this has runoff effects on all your favorite chocolate-based products. That goes from ice cream sandwiches to chocolate bars and everything in between. The companies either need to raise the price or decrease the amount of chocolate in their products. And so you're looking at things like Klondike bars, which is just literally a slab of ice cream with barely any chocolate around it. And the easiest way to cut costs on these chocolate bars is to just reduce the amount of chocolate in them.
Okay, so I bought these two Island Farm, both the same brand. This is November 6th. This is the first one I got. November 13th, second one I got. I just bought this one today. We're avid chocolate milk drinkers here. And I noticed the color is slightly different. This one's darker, this one's lighter. Poured them, and look at that. Tried this one. This is the new one. This is the older one from a week ago. Well, not even a week ago. And the lightness, and they taste different. The heck shrinkflation with the Heck Island Farms.
Look, I mean, you could probably just chalk that up to bad manufacturing, maybe, but with literally what I just talked about, it would make a lot of sense because of the cost of cocoa and chocolate. Chocolate milk would also suffer as a result, leading to your chocolate milk having less chocolate and more milk. Anything that includes chocolate is subject to shrinkflation big time.
I just went to grab some chips at Walmart, and I bought a bag of Mrs. Vicky's. They're 275 grams now. Like, I don't even know what happened. Like, there's so little. And then some chips are 205 grams. Why is everything so small? Like, that's called crazy shrinkflation. I'm not buying these again. Are you kidding me?
Oh, man. You're going to buy them again. As easy as it is to just say you're just going to cut that out completely, let's be real, you're probably not. And this is how they get you. We're human. We notice big changes. It's harder for us to notice small changes. But the funny thing is even if we notice the small change like this guy, I guarantee you he went and bought Miss Vicky's chips again. Predictably, Brad did buy the chips again, just like we all will. Sure, we'll get frustrated about it, but it'll take a lot for us to cut something out. When it comes to like junk food or stuff that's not actually super healthy for you, I can actually understand shrinkflation a little bit. The reason I say this is because I personally used to buy this type of cookie all the time, and instead of seeing shrinkflation, I just saw real-time inflation. The price went up. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm not gonna pay that much money for something that's not good for me. So I just cut it out. Now I imagine that I would have probably continued to buy those cookies if there were less in them and I was paying the same price. The reason I say that is because, cookies aren't good for you. And so there's this weird mind trick that you can play on yourself where you're like, oh, well, I mean, the company's just making me healthier because I'm not buying as many cookies. It's a weird mind game that you can play with yourself when it comes to shrinkflation, and you can justify it because we're good at justifying everything, but it's harder to justify paying more for something that's not good for you.
Hey, let's talk about shrinkflation in fashion. I spent 3 weeks in Europe in clothing factories. This is what I saw on the production floor. This is what's coming up in the next year. And this isn't a fashion projection or prediction. This is actually something I saw with my own eyes. So the types of clothes are changing, and they're generally not changing for fashion reasons. And they're changing because of economic, commercial reasons. So for overshirts and jackets, it is a creeping increase in polyester content. Jackets that were once 100% wool are now 70% wool. Jackets that were 70% wool are now 30% wool. And there are two main reasons why it's happening. First is, wool's becoming incredibly expensive. You've got to think about a global supply chain. Wool is grown in Australia, New Zealand, is then shipped over to China to be spun into yarn. That yarn is then sent across the world into Europe, where that yarn is turned into fabric, and then to a different European country where that fabric is made into clothes. Because of events in the world, because of the rising cost of petrol, transportation is increasing the price of everything. The other key factor to consider is that e-commerce is becoming a primary channel to sell clothes. And clothes don't necessarily have to be prioritized according to hand feel, according to drape, and how it fits on you. It's how it looks on photos.
I really like this TikTok so far. The points he's making make a lot of sense. The cost of material and the cost to produce high quality garments is rising due to a bunch of global factors. And so, in the classic form of corporate profit incentivization and greed, they're switching or substituting at least percentages of, if not the entire garment, to cheaper, more affordable materials like polyester. Polyester is not a natural material. It is literally plastic.
And polyester can make clothes look really good because polyester adds stiffness, it adds sculptural shape. So when you take a photo and you put up a JPEG on a website, it looks really good. Unfortunately, you don't find out the hand feel until you get it and you've already paid for the item.
This is really interesting. As someone who isn't super involved in high fashion or even just general fashion trends, I do see this being true because I personally find that it's difficult to find clothes that fit me the way that I like. That goes for like pants, shirts, jackets, pretty much anything. And so I hardly ever buy things online just because I hate having to deal with shipping things back and return policies and that kind of stuff. So I typically try to just shop in person, try things on for myself. But he also mentions hand feel, and you feel the quality of the garment in your hand, and you also see how it sits on you, the way it drapes off your body. It's impossible to tell any of that when you're looking at a photo online, and what he's saying is the cheaper material, polyester, actually makes it look better online because of the way it sits on the body, which is really interesting. I wouldn't have known that.
And if you're a traditionalist, you could go like, well, I'm not shopping unless I can actually try it on, unless I can actually feel it in my hands. But what happens when the most exciting, young, small designers cannot afford to have shops, cannot afford a shop in a major city to sign a 3-5 year lease? I appreciate that these are big problems, and I'm not going to put it on your lap to solve them. And it's really a responsibility of the small business exciting fashion designer to think of new ways to explain product, to think about new ways to show how things drape and how things are sized. But time will tell.
Great TikTok. I just find it interesting that shrinkflation is even happening in clothes. We're so used to seeing it in food, in the grocery store, in common everyday goods. You know, your bag of chips is lighter than it was last week. But I actually think that shrinkflation can be seen just in terms of like the quality of the items we buy is just generally lower these days. Like people often talk about how furniture is just not made like it was used to, and that it doesn't hold up for nearly as long as older furniture would. And I think in a lot of cases that just comes down to the materials used and the labor that's put into it. Is it high quality labor that is experts in furniture manufacturing? And are the materials high quality, very durable, stuff that's gonna last you a long time? I think my favorite thing about this video is it highlights the fact that shrinkflation is happening everywhere, even in places where you're not seeing it. And you know, we all see it in the grocery store. Everyone's probably aware of that by now, but it is happening everywhere else. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. And if you want to watch a video about how car payments are out of control, click this video here.